So one of my subscribers recently commented if I had ever thought about what I could do with all the money that I spent on food if I come the day that humans no longer have to eat, right? Because I talk so much about intermittent fasting. Now, quite frankly, I wish I never had to eat, not necessarily just because of money, but because of health issues. So right now I am, or more specifically mental health issues. So right now I am about 15 hours into fasting. I feel so lightweight, nothing could bother me, right? I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, little things would bother me, right? Go into the store and not finding my favorite foods, finding out another activity is closed off again, right? At first it was only certain activities that were closed, and now these places were closed too. But once I got 16 hours under my belt with fasting and I see those things, I go to the store and somebody cuts in line in front of me because, they can't wait to get out of the store. And I just think to myself, maybe I have a stronger immune system than those people. Maybe we should get those people out the door first before they become a super spreading event, right? I start to feel more positively about things. The other reason I want to stop eating altogether also has nothing to do with money, but more to do with convenience. Sometimes I see an event that I want to go to, and I have dietary restrictions. It's not very easy for me to pick up food at an airport, at a hotel, at a restaurant. So let's say right now I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. Let's say I want to fly to Gdansk, Poland right now, right? First thing I have to do is to find somewhere to park my car and then take a bus to the airport. There might not be suitable food at the airport. And then from here I might have to fly to Seattle and then to Frankfurt and then Warsaw. I don't think there's a flight from Warsaw to Gdansk. So then you got to get out, board a train. So it could be 48 hours from start to finish. And if I didn't have to eat those 48 hours, which I'm getting better at doing, it simplifies things a lot. I don't have to worry about finding food. I don't have to worry about language barriers. And I just be myself, right, for the whole trip. And especially if I never have to eat again, and I wouldn't have to worry about language barriers once I get to Gdansk to look for the food, I could enjoy my vacation a whole lot better. So it has nothing to do with money. But having said that, I have noticed the financial implications of eating disorders. So back in early 2020, I made a New Year's resolution to normalize my relationship with food. And the reason I made that resolution has nothing to do with money, at least not with spending money. Maybe it has something to do with earning money. So I was working as an adjunct professor, and I had office hours, but my student had decided to show up too early. I was in the middle of eating dinner when he showed up. And I looked at the question he wanted to ask me, and I thought this is a quick question, no biggie, and I started answering him. Now what's really insulting was that he showed up after I took 2 bites of my food. Had he showed up before I even dug in, I might have been able to tolerate that a little bit better. It's hard for me to explain in this video, but I start answering him, and I discover the question is a lot more long-winded than I was prepared for. I got very impatient, and I might have used a few fighting words. My student obviously was not very pleased. He told me, "You know what, Andrew, it's been only 2 days since since the beginning of the semester. I'm having this much difficulty getting my homework set up. How do I drop this course?" He straight up told me that in a very angry tone, too. Somehow I composed myself. I finished answering him, and then I would go back to my meal. I finished my meal, and then at the end of that night, I told myself, this is out of control. I need to do something about it. This was just before, I think, Thanksgiving when it happened. So that New Year's Day of 2020, I made a resolution to normalize my relationship with food. And I gotta point out, it's very important that you use those words. I sometimes overhear people, they talk about me, right? "Hey, I heard Andrew made a resolution to lose weight." If I hear that, I stop people right away and tell them, no, that's not the resolution I made. Very important distinction, because it's the relationship that I was dealing with, right? I wasn't overweight at the time. If I had made a resolution to lose weight, oh fuck that, I don't need to lose weight, right? And I would have caused a lot of trouble and a lot of grief with myself with all the other problems that gaining weight is only one negative consequence of binge eating, right? A lot of people equate those two. No, stop. It's not even most people know that if you gain weight, you increase your risk of all sorts of other diseases, right? Heart attacks, diabetes, you name it, right? Most people understand that. What most people don't understand is that the act of eating can cause its own set of social diseases, right? So I made a resolution to normalize my relationship with food, having nothing to do with losing weight, having nothing to do with saving money. Now, in February, I went on quite a number of 24-hour fasts. Early on, I discovered that fasting was a good way to clear out of my head the idea that I needed to eat all the time. It forced some boundaries between, do I really need to eat it versus am I just bored or lonely? Or there are too many reasons one wants to eat, right? Hungry being probably the very bottom of the list, right? So fasting kind of forced me to recalibrate my hunger sense, right? Otherwise, it's easy to confuse being bored or lonely or tired with being, or even being thirsty with being hungry, right? So in February, I went on a fast at the beginning of Lent. Both of my parents have birthdays in February, and I went on a fast in memorial of the first bombing at the World Trade Center, February 26th, if I remember correctly. And then I went on another fast in memorial of Fukushima, which was March 11th. So I get my credit card bill in the middle of March, and I look at it and I get a huge bill shock. It's a lot lower than I thought it would be. And around this time, everybody was talking about, are we going to get a stimulus? And I remember thinking to myself, I already got one. And I was doing some mental math. You know, I saved like $100 or $150 a month just by not binge eating. And I was doing some mental math. And I was thinking to myself, you know, by the end of this quarantine, you got to remember at the beginning, we were only going to quarantine for 2 months, right? At the end of this quarantine, I'm going to have another $300. So I'm going to have $450 extra dollars. And I was thinking to myself, what am I going to do with it? Every summer I traveled somewhere to compete in the Computer Olympiad. And I was thinking, with an extra $450 in Taiwan or wherever it's going to be held. It's usually held in a country that's a lot less expensive than the United States for sure, right? That's like enough of a budget to eat out at a better restaurant every day, right? And if I have to bring up my dietary restrictions, people are going to be a lot more tolerating if it's a more high-class restaurant, right? Not to mention, I wouldn't be eating every day because I would still be doing this intermittent fasting, right? And I just got really happy about that. Of course, it didn't turn out because of the pandemic, but instead I got to enjoy other things with that money, right? But I came to realize, yes, binge eating is a huge financial drain, right? It probably rivals some of the other addictions, right? If you smoking, drinking, I would say binge eating can get to that kind of expense level, depending on how you were doing it, right? Obviously, the food can range from you know, people can binge eat when they hunt and gather. They can also binge eat at a 5-star restaurant, right? Depends on how you do it, right? Now, even though binge eating can be a financial drain, I find it, some people go the other extreme, right? They want to hunt and gather their own foods. For me personally, I find that my time is much more better well spent actually earning the money and then buying the food, right? And plus, it's a lot safer, right? We're probably not going to start a pandemic that way, right? Hunting and gathering foods has a much bigger risk of, you know, you might eat something that has COVID-21 next, right? And then you'll have to live with all of it, not only with getting sick, but causing the whole world to get sick. I don't want to deal with that, right? See, when I was working on my PhD, I had a girlfriend who was taking advantage of me financially, and I was eating a lot of fish out of Lake Ontario. I had a friend of mine who was good at hunting, and I was eating a lot of roadkill. I got very ill from that. I don't think it was a viral infection. It was probably more like heavy metal poisoning. But after I broke up with the girl, And I thought, well, gee, I could continue eating like this to rebuild some of my savings. I had lost my life savings during the time with the girl. And then I realized this is taking up too much time. My time was much better spent on actually working my PhD, getting ahead in life, and then buying the healthy foods, right? So yes, binge eating can be a financial drain, but unless you're a professional farmer, it's probably not worth trying to produce your own food either, right? That's why we have an economy to begin with, right? Thanks for watching.